Yo ho everybody, and welcome to another edition of Yinzer on Hockey. So today I want to take a look at some of the rumors and speculations that have been floated about throughout the league on some upcoming free agents and some possible trade candidates. Firstly, as a Penguins fan, I'm going to go ahead and address the Phil Kessel situation first. I know it was first reported by Mark Madden, who's a radio personality in the Pittsburgh area, stating that Mike Sullivan and Phil Kessel's relationship was beyond repair and the Penguins were actively seeking to trade Phil Kessel. And then Josh Yohe followed up with an article on The Athletic stating similar things and how the events unraveled. Well, yesterday, finally, somebody from within the Pittsburgh organization, General Manager Jim Rutherford, stated in an article with Pierre LeBrun on The Athletic that there was some discontent with Kessel and Sullivan, but they were not actively seeking to trade Phil Kessel. I've always been a believer that there is no untradeable entity in the NHL. If there is a deal presented and it makes enough sense to both teams involved, then you make the deal, because you're always looking to make your team better, not just right now, but also to carry on into the future. And I think if the right deal comes about, then possibly, maybe they make that deal. But I don't think there is a deal imminent that makes Pittsburgh better without Phil Kessel on their roster. I think that would be a stretch. He had a career-high 58 assists and a career-high 92 points this season, and I just don't see a likely scenario where there's a win-win trade involving Phil Kessel. One of the other rumors that I had seen come about was Max Domi. Max Domi being traded out of Arizona. This is one, he had a bit of a down year last year, but I think he had set the bar so high in his rookie season that it was kind of inevitable that he would have a little bit of a fallback. And Arizona was, as a whole, not a very good team. They got a lot better down the stretch, and I think that as that team progresses, especially under Rick Tocchet's system, as the team progresses, these younger guys are going to find their roles and be contributing factors within Rick Tocchet's system. He likes to, from his time at Pittsburgh, he's learned that you have to roll all four lines. You have to have competent third and fourth line players on your team, and I think he's trying to build that in Arizona, and it's going to take a couple of more years, even though the second half of this season they looked very good. Another speculation out of Arizona was the possibility of moving Oliver Ekman-Larsson. And that's another one of those spots where I just don't see Arizona winning a trade if they decide to move Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I think he has the potential to be the captain on that Arizona team in time, and he's definitely a top pair defenseman. And I don't think you want to trade a top pair defenseman for depth players or for role players or even for picks and prospects, because I don't think Arizona is far enough away from competing. I think they're closer to competing than most people give them credit for, and I don't think that they're looking to stockpile more prospects and drafts for the future. I think they're ready to start building into a win-now mode, and I don't think that involves moving Oliver Ekman-Larsson. One of the other speculations I had seen or read about was Noah Hanifin out of Carolina. To me, I guess this is part of the Carolina vision to continue to retool and rebuild, and they want to get players that are NHL ready in equal value trades for players they have on their roster now, Obviously, their defensive core is very good, and if they're able to move some of those players to acquire more scoring depth, then maybe that's something they do. I personally liked Hanifin a lot on that team, though, and I don't know that there is a situation for Arizona that makes sense for a Hanifin trade, but I suppose it is possible. Just trying to grab a hold of Hanifin's stats here. Yeah, so this year he had 32 points, 10 goals, 22 assists, and I think at his age that he's probably just going to develop more into a scoring defenseman, and I think Carolina should be seeking to get a lot in return for someone like Noah Hanifin. I think if you're moving someone like Justin Falk or one of their more veteran defensemen, then maybe you don't get as much in return. But when you're moving a 21-year-old defenseman, especially a guy that's got top 4, top 2 potential, then you have to win that trade. Also, rumors that Ilya Kovalchuk has hired an agency here in the States and has began talking with teams that he might be interested in going to as he returns from the KHL. One of the initial team names that popped up was the New York Rangers, and I mean that makes sense to an extent. They obviously need to retool their scoring depth after losing Rick Nash and Grabner and a few other key guys at the trade deadline that they're probably not going to return in the offseason, and New York is pretty much fully committed to retooling, and Ilya Kovalchuk at age 35, you would have to assume, is looking more for a team that's ready to compete and make a deep playoff run, and I don't know that he wants to go to New York and be buried in that rebuilding situation. Maybe if he wants to go there on like a 1-year prove-it deal to prove that he is committed to the NHL and committed to playing two-way hockey, and that he still has a lot of that scoring touch that he's had in the past, then maybe teams would be more willing to take a flyer on him after a year in New York. But there's quite a few teams that could use an impact guy like Ilya Kovalchuk. I think a team like Columbus comes to mind. They don't have as much scoring depth on their wings, and also maybe Winnipeg would make a little bit of sense, if he's willing to play second or third line minutes. Maybe there's a situation there, and there's going to be a lot of teams linked to him over the summer as the July 1st deadline gets a little bit closer. We'll get more of an idea as to where he's probably going to land. And then wanted to also touch on some of the recent occurrences, which I haven't had a chance to address yet with my work schedule, but the David Quinn hiring in New York. I wanted to touch on this real quick because this is one of my favorite hirings of the summer, along with Jim Montgomery in Dallas. I like the idea of the NHL kind of promoting coaches through the ranks, and these guys coming up through the NCAA and coming up through outside amateur hockey levels to be able to get a shot in the NHL. You've seen it with Dave Haxtell in Philadelphia. He's been pretty successful there. Flyers fans might disagree, but for the most part, Dave Haxtell's been very successful in Philadelphia. And with Boston University, David Quinn has had a very successful track record, always in the NCAA tournament. I believe he had a finals appearance a couple of years ago, so he's proven that he can implement his system and just build teams level by level and get them to where they need to be, to a championship caliber team. And I think that once he's able to build New York and put a team in place where he likes the pieces and the players like their role in his system, then I think it's going to prove to be a fruitful hire. And I think more teams are going to start to look to the outside levels versus the constant recycling of veteran coaches. So I think you'll see a lot more of that in the future if the Jim Montgomery and the David Quinn hiring proves to be successful. Then you'll get a lot more out of a lot more teams hiring outside of just the NHL's small circle that it seemed to be content to hire on for the past 10 or 12 years. So those are just a few things that I wanted to address and talk about, kind of put my opinion out there and let you guys know what I think of each individual speculation and rumor, as well as the David Quinn hiring. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What rumors and speculations are you guys following more closely? And don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. I try to put stuff out on a regular basis. I have a kind of a varying work schedule, so I try to get them out as often as I can and address things as they pop up. Sometimes I'm a little bit behind the wave, and sometimes I'm trying to wait for more information to come out, like with the Phil Kessel rumor. I wanted to wait until somebody from the Penguins organization actually addressed that rumor before I just went with the speculation of the so-called insiders. So let me know what you guys think. Be sure to hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying it, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.